In this lesson, we're going to make a nice composite using layer masks. This will be the base for our project, and we're going to combine 3 more pictures on top of it. We're going to start off with this picture of the flag. So I'm going to take my Move tool and drag and drop this flag onto our picture here. And what I'd like to do is have this flag kind of fading in to the picture of the Statue of Liberty. So let me first go over here to the Layers panel, name my flag layer, and what I need to do here is add a layer mask to this flag layer. The Layer Mask button is at the bottom of the Layers panel. It's the 3rd button over, and you can see the layer mask has been added. The thing I want you to remember about layer masks is that white shows the layer and black hides the layer. So one rhyme might be white reveals, black conceals. So this entire layer mask is white at the moment, so it's showing the entire layer. And I'd also like to point out to you, let me zoom in here just a little bit so you can see this, that here we go. This layer has 2 parts to it. You can see we've got the thumbnail, which has the picture, and we have the layer mask. Do you see how these little corners appear on the layer mask? That means the layer mask is the selected part of this layer. Now if I click on the picture, now the frame's around that. So we would be working on the picture itself with anything that we do. Well, in this case, we want to work on the mask, so we need to make sure that the mask is the selected portion of this layer. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use our gradient tool, and the way this works is we'll get the gradient tool, we'll need to go to the options bar up at the top, and we need to use a plain old black and white gradient, because the way the layer mask works is black and white. Like I said before, white reveals, black conceals. We're going to use a plain old gradient here. The mode is normal, the opacity is 100%. And the way this thing works is we just click and drag across what we want to mask. And you can see by looking here at the mask, we've laid a gradient in here. So anything that's white on the mask shows. Well, this area is showing. Anything that's black on the mask gets hidden. Well, this area down here is hidden. And anything in between in this case, in the gradient, well, that's where it fades out. And the nice thing about this is that you can just click and drag your mask any way you want until you get it just the way you want it. I think that looks pretty good right there, so I'll leave that. Next, I've got another picture that I'd like to add. So I've dragged that off to the side, and I'll use the Move tool and move this into our document. And I think I'll put that right about here. Name this layer, and once again I'd like to have this fading in to the picture as well. So it's going to have a layer mask. So I've got the layer selected, go to the bottom of the Layers panel, click on the Layer Mask button, and you can see a layer mask has been added. So I'll go over here to my gradient tool. It's still set up from last time I used it. It's got the black and white gradient, regular linear gradient, and so forth. So I'm just going to click and drag across this. Now, you can see I've got a line here, so let me try that again. Seems that no matter what I do, I've got this line. Well, that's because our mask has to end before the edge of this picture. So watch this. I'm going to click and drag to about here and stop short of that line. Then the line doesn't show. Alright, well that's looking pretty good. Now I've got one more picture that I'd like to include. I'll grab it by its tab and drag it over to the side. And then with the Move tool, drag it over into my project and move it in place. Well, you've probably already guessed what I'm going to do here. I'm going to name the layer, and then go down to the bottom of the Layers panel, add a new mask by clicking on the Layer Mask button, and use the Gradient tool. In this case, I'll click and drag up. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now, the beauty of using this method is that you don't have to just live with whatever you got. It stays live, so you can re-drag these anytime you feel like it. You can also go onto these masks and paint on them as well with the paintbrush tool. I've got my paintbrush. I'll get a nice hard-edged brush here just to demonstrate this, and perhaps I'd like this torch to show with full intensity. Well, I'm on the layer that's got that picture, and I've clicked on the mask itself, so if I paint with the color white, which is the foreground color here in my toolbox, then wherever I paint with this is going to show that layer with its full intensity. And likewise, anywhere that I were to paint with black would hide that layer completely. So in this case, I don't really want to paint on it, but I just wanted you to understand this. You can apply black and white to this layer either with a gradient or with a paintbrush. It really doesn't matter. So I'm going to get my gradient tool and re-drag this so I can... Oops, wrong way. There, that looks better. And just like with other projects, you can drag these layers to change their order that they stack up. You can even change their blending modes. So for example, you might want to take this top layer and try out some different blending modes with it. Might find something nice. This is really a lot of fun, and I'm sure you've got a lot of pictures that you could combine using this method. So go to it.